Namibia is on the brink of a significant political transition as we prepare to welcome new presidency. Over the past 5 years, the current administration has navigated both triumphs and challenges, shaping the nation's political and economic landscape. As we take a moment to reflect on this journey, we're honored to be joined by Dr. Alfredo Hengari, Press Secretary to the President. Dr. Hengari, good evening and welcome back.
Good evening, Nina Katangolo. It's indeed a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Well, of course, we just heard, to start with, the news that Dr. Simata left us with, and it's quite surprising, and I think many people watching this evening are quite shocked and definitely disappointed. They were looking forward to, this historic moment that's going to be taking place tomorrow.
No, Nina, we are all disappointed with the fact that we cannot witness this historic event in a big stadium of one of historic significance as well, Independence Stadium. But rain is a blessing. And if the event at Independence Stadium is called off on account of rain, I think as Namibians, we should take that for what it is.
Yeah.
But the significance of the day remains. The historic aspects remain, that we are inaugurating for the first time in the history of our nation a woman in the person of Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, a highly capable leader who will navigate the Namibian ship for the next 5 years. So at State House, also a very important place in the history of our nation, a symbol of state power. So the significance of the day and the gravity of the moment and the sense of celebration and victory for women and the Namibian people in general remains.
Yeah. Also, I think as much as it's a shock to Namibians to hear that, these big changes that have happened to the schedule tomorrow, we have become a nation that has become accustomed to rolling with the punches, and we do it quite well.
Indeed, indeed. I think it will be quite memorable because 35 years later, we are here, and I think it's a day we will not forget.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Dr. Hengari, as we transition to this new presidency, how would you summarize some of the key achievements of the current administration?
Nina, we went through a very difficult period, and you correctly pointed out that fact. On the 13th of March 2020, the first index case of COVID-19 was recorded in our country. And what followed was a period of lockdowns and untold destruction, decimation of the Namibian economy. Our fellow citizens lost their jobs, specifically in the tourism sector, because of these lockdowns. Our economy took a serious hit as a result of the global COVID-19 pandemic. But what is encouraging when we look back is the fact that because of the leadership, President Hage Geingob and his cabinet provided over that period, meant that we are where we are today. We have an economy that is on the up. Jobs are returning to our economy. At the same time, we were also able to do a number of great things. We achieved a number of big things throughout that period, and I will revert to that later. But at the same, we must also not forget that last year, on the 4th of February, we lost a sitting president, and which was really a dark period for our nation, a period of mourning, sadness. But because of the leadership President Nangolo Mbumba provided, and his vice president, Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, we've been able to weather that storm.
Yeah.
And a month ago, we lost the founding president. So it has been a presidency of tears, as President Nangolo Mbumba likes to refer to. But we were also able to achieve a number of great things in a number of sectors: infrastructure, roads, energy, But we have also been able to strengthen our social protection architecture.
Mm-hmm. Speaking on the winds, Dr. Hengari, talk to us about some of the most impactful policies, that have been implemented and how it's shaped Namibia's development.
We have been able to strengthen our social protection system over the past 5 years. Nina, just last year, the Namibian government increased the amount of money or the grant that is afforded to people living with disability. Mm-hmm. It's standing at 1,500, if I'm not mistaken. We have been able to transition from food banks, which were initiated by President Hengari, to a modified basic income grant. That's for our vulnerable sectors for our population, especially in urban and peri-urban areas. We have been able to strengthen our vocational training centers. In every region of the country, we now have vocational training centers, and that is vital for empowering our young people to be job creators as opposed to job seekers. So that's an important achievement. Mm-hmm. Nina, we've also been able to set up the Welwitschia Sovereign Wealth Fund. Namibia is a resource-rich country, and the view of the government under the leadership of President Hengari at the time was to ensure that current and future generations benefit from the wealth under the soil of Namibia, with an initial seed capital of 270 million, and as the Bank of Namibia governor announced recently, we have capital that is close to 500 million. And that's an important win for the country because a sovereign wealth fund allows you to create a buffer for eventualities such as a global pandemic like COVID-19, because then you have the resources to infuse into the economy and to protect vulnerable sectors of the population. On the side of infrastructure, roads, for example, we have been able to complete a number of key projects, of course, that were started by previous presidents, including President Pohamba. The Windhoek-Okahanja dual carriage freeway is completed, and we've been able to reduce the number of accidents. Namibians lost their lives, innocent Namibians lost their lives on that road, but today we have a road that is much safer. The Windhoek-Hosea-Kutako dual carriage freeway, which has been renamed the Dr. Hengari Freeway, is nearing completion. And I can talk about Wolfish Bay Swakopmund, which is named after President Pohamba, which has been completed. So a number of other roads completed across the country. And I think if I'm not mistaken, we've been able to increase the road network by 1,000 kilometers, and that's throughout a period of 10 years. Nina, we are a country that has been experiencing severe droughts over the past 10 years. And you will recall that last year, President Angola Mbuba declared an emergency on account of drought, and over 600 million has been provided to vulnerable sectors of the Namibian population in the space of agriculture and rural communities who have been affected severely by the drought. We are not a government that leaves vulnerable citizens on their own during such periods, but there are countries where some of these things don't happen. A drought, floods, you are on your own. But in Namibia, we provide relief to vulnerable sectors of our population, and that speaks to the quality of government, and that speaks to the level of compassion on the part of government, a government that is responsive to the needs of its citizens. And I must also mention here, Nina, in the Harambee Prosperity Plan 2, we identified the need for the creation of new engines of economic growth, new sectors with the potential to transform our economic landscape. And it is in that vein that green hydrogen was identified as one of many sectors that have the potential to generate economic growth. Because without economic growth, Nina, you cannot create more jobs.
And I was just going to ask you about the strides. Of course, you've mentioned all the sectors in which there's been great strides made. What about the strides, in terms of job creation in the country? Because that's also been quite a challenge for Namibia over the years.
No, it is indeed a challenge. And of course, COVID-19, which I mentioned, but at the same time, we've also been experiencing jobless economic growth.
Yeah.
And that is why investments in agriculture over the past 5 years were also identified as an important sector for job creation. And in that vein, the reforms that we effected around the green schemes, not just for job security, but also employment creation and sustainable communities.
Yeah.
The agriculture mechanization program that was initiated by the Ministry of Agriculture to provide equipment to farmers, tractors, and so on, so that they can not only create more opportunities for employment, but also contribute to our food security. So there's been progress in some of those sectors. Namibia imports less vegetables from South Africa than at any point in our history. And some of these things demonstrate the fact that the past 5 years were not just years where we went through the shocks as we have seen them, but also there's some great achievements that we can speak about over the past 5 years.
Dr. Hengari, as the presidency transitions, what legacy does this administration leave behind?
It's a legacy of the Namibian people, because the president is, and the presidency, broadly speaking, is the embodiment of the Namibian people, because Namibians elect their president.
Yes.
And in that vein, he is the ultimate expression of the sovereignty of the Namibian people. So we can talk about a nation that has been resilient over the past 5 years, very difficult 5 years, resilient. We experienced defeats, there's no question about that. COVID-19 decimated our economy, jobs were lost, but we also experienced victories throughout that period, and that's what makes a nation. A nation is made of victories and defeats. And the past 5 years demonstrate a brave presidency and a brave Namibian people.
Yeah. Now, you as press secretary have played a crucial role in also shaping public communication, Dr. Hengari. So what are some of your most significant moments? What have they been in this role that you've undertaken?
There's no, I think what I can think about COVID-19 as a very difficult period when it comes to communicating, because Namibians were frustrated with the lockdowns, but because of the leadership President Gengo provided and the cabinet in general, Namibians came to understand the importance of protecting the health of the nation. President Gengo always said, the health of Namibians is my first priority. So it was difficult to communicate, but eventually Namibians bought into the message of the presidency, President Gengo, and the government at large. I must also single out the brutal killings of the Nchindo brothers by the Botswana Defense Forces. It was quite difficult, very emotional period for the families and the people of that region, especially those who were living across the border. And it was not fully understood by some that any form of retaliatory attack against whoever on the border, the BDF and so on, was going to create even more problems for all of us, because some wanted Namibia to respond, but President Gengo maintained a diplomacy of peace with the neighboring Botswana, and we struggled to get that message across. I was under heavy fire, I must admit, because some of our cities didn't fully appreciate the objective that we wanted to communicate in as far as the need to maintain peace with a neighboring country. But eventually that message went through. It was quite challenging. And but overall, Nina, I must say that it has been a privilege to serve President Hage Geingob and President Nangolo Mumba, leaders who appreciate the need for transparency, leaders who appreciate the role of a free press.
Yes.
in strengthening our governance architecture. So, and that makes your job as press secretary much easier. Of course, it's not always easy with the media, but generally, I believe that we have had a working relationship where we understood eventually that each and every one of us must remain in our place. We have a role to play. Your role is to entertain, to educate, and to inform. And the role of the press secretary is to communicate the activities of the president, the activities of the presidency, and government more broadly.
Dr. Hengari, looking ahead, what are your thoughts on Namibia's future, as well as the direction that the country should take under the new leadership that we'll enjoy?
Nina, the president-elect, Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, was given a mandate by the Namibian people on the basis of an ambitious Super Party manifesto to create jobs for the majority of our citizens, especially our young people who are disproportionately affected by unemployment. And I do believe that the president-elect has the gravity, she has the determination, she's industrious, hardworking leader who will be able to deal with these challenges head on. I've seen the president-elect very close at work. It's someone who is detailed. It's someone who prepares adequately. And the Namibian people at this hour, there's no doubt about that, about the fact that at this hour, the Namibian people have the right person to take the country forward. The future of the Namibian people is brighter because it is the challenge of our time is to ensure that each and every Namibian can live a life of prosperity, a life that the one that they want. If you work hard, the opportunities are there. And I'm confident that after 5 years, Namibia will be in much better shape than today.